America's healthcare advocate, Carrie Hall.
Hello, America. Welcome to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. Our producer today, Mr. Darren Willite. I'm your host, Carrie Hall. Thank you for joining us and making us one of the most listened to talk shows throughout the United States. I want to give a little shout out today to all folks up in Washington. Pasco, Washington, KONA 610 AM and KGTK 920 AM and 101 FM in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington. We appreciate all of you up there. That's where my daughter lives, up in Pasco. So I'm definitely going to give a little shout out to her today. Hope you all enjoy listening to the show. Also, as you know, we are on 14 podcast platforms. I'm going to roll through them rather quickly. Spotify, SoundCloud, RSS, Overcast, Rumble, Stitcher, TuneIn, Pandora, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Amazon, Google, Odyssey, and we're also on YouTube. So we've expanded this broadcast now. This is about the last year that we just started doing this, and it's remarkable the response we've got. We have 225,140 views so far this year on YouTube, and we've got about 9,000 of you a month downloading this show on podcast platforms. We even had one downloaded in Turkey, and one of our clients went into the meeting in Turkey, and there he was up on the podcast platform. They were watching the show. So we greatly appreciate all of you out there that are doing this on podcast and YouTube, and obviously all of you listening on AM, FM radio around the country. So thank you for joining us. Also, if you are chronologically challenged and you are looking for Medicare, wherever you are in the country, you can get a hold of the good folks over at RPS Benefits by Design. Joyce Thompson and Carol Lee Steele are Medicare experts. I don't care where you are, if you're in Phoenix, if you're in Pasco, Washington, if you're in Kansas, wherever you may be, they are happy to help you. 877-385-2224. 877-385-2224. Open enrollment's right around the corner. Now is the time to call them. Don't wait until everything starts becoming crunch time, and then you're trying to get in, and it's hard to get time with somebody or go through the plans to see what's going to make the most sense. Also, if you're an employer looking for group health insurance, Maria Allers at RPS Benefits by Design is happy to help you. All right, we have a somewhat unusual show today. Joining us in studio today, John Massey, Danny Spencer, and Mak Booher, all from ZuZu's Petals. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here. So before we even get started, they don't make bicycle pedals. Okay, so if you all start going to Google and look for these guys, this is not about bicycle pedals. All right. What they actually do is they're a 501(c)(3) that does a wonderful thing at Christmas. They provide Christmas, actual Christmas, for families that don't have the ability, don't have the money and the resources to put Christmas together for their children, for themselves. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about that. You've heard their commercials running. We've got their commercials running around Kansas City now, and you've heard them. But we're going to do a whole show on this today and just kind of get you to understand, what can you do, for folks that are in need. And they're going to tell us about their story, their mission, and how they all came together. So let's start with you, John. Why don't you just give us a little background on how the three of you all got involved in this, and then how it morphed out into becoming its own 501(c)(3). You've been doing it for some time now.
Yes, sir. So this is probably our third year actually working on it. So as the audience can probably tell, I am not from Kansas City, Missouri.
No, and he's not from Pasco, Washington either.
No, I can't say I am. I can't say I am.
That's an Australian accent.
Yes, sir. Loud and proud. So my mom is actually from Kansas City, Missouri, though, which is how I ended up here about 6 years ago. That's when I met Dan before that, but I mean, you're on the other side of the world, so I really didn't know you that well. And we just happened to bond over our mutual love of Christmas. Specifically, it's just we've both been Christmas buffs our whole lives growing up. And we were like, oh, you too, right? This is super cool. And so over the last few years, we started just, throwing out ideas of different ways that maybe we could make it a little more of an external celebration rather than just, how much fun we can have.
So doing something for other people,
correct,
in other words.
Correct.
The actual, what we're really supposed to be doing at Christmas time.
Exactly.
Surprise,
not thinking about numero uno.
Yeah.
And so what was it? One year, I wasn't able to go back home to Australia for Christmas, which was a little bit rough, honestly. But Dan and I sat down and we just decided to deliver meals to the homeless. That was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, thereabouts. So on Christmas Eve, we cook some chicken, made
You
some
guys
mashed
actually
potatoes.
did this yourselves. You
Yeah,
cooked
we
it?
did.
Yeah.
Before we met Mac.
Yeah, it sounds nice, but it was honestly probably some selfish intentions in there. Honestly, I was
Okay.
just sick of thinking about how upset I was, and so we were just let's try and have some fun with it. And so we did that for probably 2 or 3 more years after that, and then I was actually sitting in an interview with a mentor of mine, Case Dorman, who was the owner of Jack Stack Barbecue, and he asked me what I was passionate about in terms of where I wanted to go with my career. I had jumped around to a couple of different jobs and hadn't really landed on anything. And he said, well, what are you passionate about? And in the back of my head, I was like, well, I can't really answer that honestly because you'll probably think I'm a goofball, because my answer at the time was 100% Christmas. That is what I could think about it and look at it all day and never get sick of it. And I know Dan was the same way. And so I was like, well...
And you guys kidnapped Mac and
Right. We
Build our website.
Exactly. And so we were like, well, what if both of our dreams job ideally were like to be Santa Claus, let's say, how could we make that happen? And ZuZu's is what we came up with.
It's amazing. And so the name, like I said, they do not. If you go Google it, you're going to see a bunch of bicycle pedals. Okay?
Petals, not
yeah,
pedals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's petals, not pedals. So that's what it's a little confusing. So it's a kind of a cool story. How did you come up with ZuZu's Petals?
You want to take that one? No? Okay. Yeah, no worries.
You came up with the...
Yeah, so we were actually, I was over at Dan's on a Saturday afternoon while you were working on your RV. Do you remember that? You were refurbishing it. And we'd already started talking about it. We'd started working on a website on Wix, which that's going to be where Mac comes into the fold here in a little bit. And we just started throwing out names. The original name was... What was it? The Kris Kringle Foundation.
Something
I
like
believe.
that. Yeah.
And then Shock Horror.
Didn't stick.
Someone already had that. And then I also realized that we didn't qualify as a foundation, so we couldn't really do that.
You had to do your 501(c)(3). Right?
Yeah.
And so then we just started throwing out different names, different iconic names from Christmas movies. And It's a Wonderful Life is a big family favorite
Correct.
in our extended family.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, what about ZuZu's Petals? And then Danny's wife, Monica, she was like, well, that's super cute. And then we were like, well, let's roll with it. And so that's how we got the name.
And at that point, Mac, you created the website.
Yeah. So I mean, that kind of played in with one day at the office. John, he knew that I build websites. We hadn't really talked much at that point. He had me come into his office and was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
Show
And
him the Wix
website,
yeah.
the original. I was like, "Oh, I mean, it's nice. It's nice."
In other words, he thought it sucked, but he didn't want to tell him it sucked.
I was
Okay,
like,
all right, okay,
I was like,
got
"Would you
it.
guys want some help with making a new website?" I'd be happy to help. And then so at that point, John, Dan, and I started getting together during preseason a couple years ago, just pre-football season, and just
figured
kind
that's
of
what it was. Yeah.
just kind of shooting the shot, And then out of nowhere, we started building the website, and that's how I got roped into it all.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. I think it's wonderful. It's good to see guys your age. I'm 74 years old, so a little reference.
You don't
point
look
there.
it, Carrie.
Yeah, well,
You
thank
look great.
I appreciate the compliment. They'll be back on for another show now. But it's great to see people your age this involved in the community and motivated to start something on your own and get out there and do something that's going to make a difference. And we're going to talk a lot about that in the next couple of segments. When we come back from the break, we're going to get into that. If you want to reach out to them, you can do it. Now, here's the deal. To keep this easy so everybody doesn't have trouble finding the website, they've got a website, kcchristmas.org. kcchristmas.org. That's it, right?
Yes,
I didn't screw it up. Gee, there you have it, okay? So if you want to reach out, you want to connect with them, we're going to tell you what they need. When we come back after the break, we're going to get into some of that. But they're looking for a lot of different things. One of them is obviously money, but there are other things that you can do that would be very helpful to them. So if you go up to the website, kcchristmas.org, they're beginning their campaign now. Okay, here we are, the beginning of October. They're beginning their campaign now, and they've got a certain amount of time here, but time moves quickly and they need help to get these things done. We come back, we'll talk about what they do and how they do it. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting here on the HIA Radio Network, coast to coast across the USA. Stay tuned. We've got more right here on America's Healthcare Advocate.
The Golden Rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. I'm Steve Keeker, and this is one of the founding principles of my firm, Senior Care Consulting. Since 2002, our value statement has included honor our mother and father, respect our elders, care for those in need, and treat your family as our own. We've been honored to help hundreds of families make one of the most difficult decisions they could ever make, serving them in their greatest time of need. If you're looking for someone who can provide you experienced and objective guidance when searching for a senior care community, reach out today and discover the services of Senior Care Consulting at 913-945-2800, 913-945-2800. Know your options and choose with care at seniorcareconsulting.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HIA Radio Network. If you want to know more about us or you have a question or a comment for me, I get emails all the time from people that need help with something. Feel free to reach out. americashealthcareadvocate.com, americashealthcareadvocate.com. That's the website. Send me an email. I'll get it. I'll get back to you. I'm happy to help you with anything I can, wherever you may be in the country. Go to the website. Also, as I mentioned earlier in the show, these shows are all posted up on all 14 podcast platforms and YouTube. So maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'd like to get my church involved in this, or I'd like to get my civic group involved in this, or we don't really have anybody we're doing anything with as far as Christmas is concerned. Well, the show's posted up on the website. It's also posted up on the podcast platforms. You can send them the podcast link. They can listen to the show and say, hey, let's get behind these guys. We've got 3 young guys here that are really doing something special, trying to help people that cannot afford to put Christmas together. We're talking about the kids and the parents. So it all comes together with what they're doing. It's called ZuZu's Petals, Petals. That's the name of their organization. It is a 501(c)(3). But the website is kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. If you want to get involved, if you want to donate, if you want to become they've got a lot of volunteers. They probably can always ask for 1 or 2 more. If you want to help out, they'd be happy to have you do that. You can go to the website again, kcchristmas.org. They're happy to have your donations. They're looking for money, obviously. They're also looking for certain gifts. We'll talk about that in the third segment, but I'll give you an idea. If you've got 2 or 3 bicycles sitting in the garage, your kids are gone, they're in college, you're not riding the bicycles anymore, they'd love to have them, okay? That's just to give you an example. You've got Christmas decorations, you've got wreaths, you've got any of that stuff you want to get rid of, they'd love to have it. So go to the website, reach out to them, kcchristmas.org. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about, how do you know what to get these? Let's start with the kids. How do you know what the kids want? I mean, kids have a wide variety of things.
They do indeed.
They may want, whether it may be a Barbie doll or it may be a fire truck. So how do you know what they want? How do you put this together? So you're not getting them something, oh, yeah, great, I didn't want that. Why did I get that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially how the process works is the parents will apply. Okay. On our website.
And I saw that on the website. So they can apply. So if somebody needs help, they can apply.
Yep.
Okay. And then?
Yep. So they'll go through, fill out the application, get specific about, what their kids like, what they're into, what their interests are, what sort of kid they are, whether they're, happy, more melancholy, that sort of thing. And then what they actually want, right? So, and this is not to poo-poo any other organizations. Like, I know Toys for Tots, they do great
they
work.
Do a great job, but they get a huge variety of stuff.
Right, and then a kid essentially gets to go in and pick. What our goal is to look at the families that are in tough times and say, essentially, what do you really want for Christmas? And I mean, did you have anything to expand on that?
Important part of what we're doing that makes us a little bit different than some other organizations, that as far as the kids know, we're never in the picture.
They don't even know you guys exist.
They don't know we exist, and that's
really
what we
cool.
intend.
Yeah.
So hopefully their parent can apply. A parent can pick up the gift, and they can do, Santa can give the gift to the kids, the parents can, whatever they choose to do, they don't know we exist. So that's the big
really
goal.
Cool. So you actually found that this little girl wants a Barbie doll, and you're able to get them a Barbie doll, or this little guy wants a fire engine, or this preteen teenager would like a bicycle. Okay, hence I asked for bicycles. That's why we asked for the bicycles people. Actually, somebody actually did that last year, and that's what gave them the idea to start doing it. So you said that the parents can pick it up. If the parents can't pick it up, you guys have partnered with Rockhurst College.
That's correct.
And they're going to help you deliver the food, the whole 9 yards to the families. Is that what you're doing?
So shout out Rob McCarthy.
You're not cooking chicken this year, okay?
No, not this year. Not this
That's
year.
good, because that's dangerous.
We don't want the World Health Organization to come knocking on our door. But yeah, so I work with Rob McCarthy, and he's the coach of the Rockhurst lacrosse team. And they were generous enough to donate some of their time, and they're going to help us deliver.
Okay.
All the Christmas goods.
So
as it were.
if you don't have a car, or you think, well, how are they going to get it if they don't have a car? You don't have to worry about it. They're going to actually deliver it for folks. So let's talk about, what does that look like monetarily? What does it look like per family? Because you've got a pretty good breakdown here. So let's just say you've got a single mom, and one kid.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at? What's the average cost for you to put together what their Christmas is going to look like?
So Dan's the treasurer, so I might defer to you on the numbers.
So according to last year, we had about $90 per kid.
Okay.
In a single mom, we also look to provide Christmas dinner as well as a Christmas wreath. So depending on the kid and the situation, we'll have about $90 for the kid's gift, $50 for Christmas dinner, and another $30 for a wreath for their door.
Okay, so let's go back to that in a minute. So the $90 for gifts is pretty good. I mean, that's a significant amount of money depending on where they go. You go to Walmart, you can do quite a bit with that. You go to Costco, you can do quite a bit with that. How do you get the food to them? Do you guys actually deliver a meal to them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so everyone has a different type of Christmas dinner.
Right.
So that we basically allow these families to pick it for themselves. We give them a gift card, and they can go to the store and pick up whatever they'd like to have. To make it their own Christmas dinner.
So that's pretty cool. So if they want to have ham and sweet potatoes for Christmas, or they want turkey, you can do whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the initial battles. Is our family. So for those of you that don't know, Danny and I are cousins. We've got a very traditionally minded Christmas family. So we're like, turkey, cranberries, sweet potato pie, all that good stuff. But that's not necessarily what everyone else is into. So, we had to, tear that inner tradition out a little bit and just essentially let people get what they actually want for Christmas, not what we want them to have. And then just going back, just one minor point to make with the $90 a child. Yeah. That will essentially span. I mean, we had kids that, wanted things that were $10. Which is like nothing. And then we had kids that, in their wildest dreams wanted something. Right, exactly. Wanted a
PlayStation.
Right, a PlayStation and that sort of thing. So we do have an internal cap, just in terms of being responsible that we won't go over. But yeah, I mean, it averages out all in all to be around about $90 a kid.
So that's not, like I said, if you take that money and go to Walmart with you take that money and go to Costco or someplace like that can be a significant amount of money. I know that because I shop for my grandchildren at Walmart and Costco. So I'm just telling you, you can spend some money and you can do a lot with that.
Absolutely.
Depending on how you want to do it. So you served how many families last year?
We did 21 families and 52 kids last
That's
year.
pretty amazing. I mean, when you guys just started out with this, that's 21 families you made a big difference for. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of a shock, I think, to all of us.
Helping 10 kids is what our goal was last year. And
I mean, all this was supposed to be was like a hobby, really. And we were thinking like, if we get
go, that's how it was supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it takes on a life of its own.
Exactly. I mean, I think our initial goal was, if we get 10 kids, then it's worth doing again. And a day after Thanksgiving last year, we had about 60 applications.
Wow.
And then 3 days after that, we had 130 applications. And we were kind of like, well, shoot.
So what are we going to do?
Right.
Within a week of turning on the application process, we had to turn it off. Because we're like, we're not going to be able to serve all these families. So that gave us a lot of motive to go into this year. And we're looking to hit 300 kids this year.
There you go. That's pretty ambitious. The website, if you want to help out, kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the specific things that they need that you can do. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting here on the HIA Radio Network, coast to coast across the USA. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Christmas Day is special. It's always been that way. It's what we call the magic of Christmas. And the age-old stories that make up our Christmas traditions have always included the idea of rescue, of coming to another's aid, of making the extra effort to write a happy ending. Not every child in Kansas City is forecasted to have a memorable Christmas Day. ZuZu's Petals simply wants to change that for as many children as possible. Why? Let's just say it's our way of keeping the story and tradition alive through good times and bad. Christmas memories aren't just made for the short term. They leave a lasting impression for a lifetime, and this changes lives for the better. This tradition of charity is alive and well in Kansas City. It's what ZuZu's Petals is all about. Our guarantee to every individual and corporate donor is that your tax-deductible contributions this holiday season will bring a smile to a child's face on Christmas Day. Join us by visiting kcchristmas.org. You're just a few clicks away from making the magic of Christmas a reality in Kansas City. Merry Christmas from ZuZu's Petals, a 501c3 nonprofit. kcchristmas.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the fruited plain here on the HIA Radio Network. You can learn more about us by going to the website, americashealthcareadvocate.com. You've got questions, send me an email. I'll be happy to answer them. My producer, the always perfect Mr. Darren Wilhite. I'm your host, Kerry Hall. Behind the camera, Dave Thiessen, the man who puts all this together and gets it up on all 14 of those podcast platforms and YouTube. So, like I said earlier, maybe you've got a group, maybe you've got a men's group, or maybe you've got a women's group, or maybe you're, in an assisted living facility and you all are getting together and trying to figure out what could we do for Christmas besides our own grandkids and all the rest of it. Well, go to the website, kcchristmas.org. These guys have got some pretty ambitious plans for this year. The website's kcchristmas.org. You've heard what they're doing. I think it's pretty amazing. These three young guys came together, put all this together on their own. They're taking their time, effort, and money to do it. They're trying to do 300 kids this year. That's pretty ambitious, okay? But they're going to need money. They're going to need resources. They're probably going to need some help. So go up to the website, take a look at it, kcchristmas.org. They had to cut off the apps last year because they couldn't take care of all the people. There's a lot of need out there, okay? We have a lot of need right now. There are a lot of people that are having a very difficult time of it right now. This is a great way to get involved and do something, literally make a difference and affect somebody's life in a personal way, something a little different than going to a big organization. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying this is kind of a more personal way to do this, and these guys have figured out a pretty good path forward, I think. They're trying to do 300 kids this year. It's kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. So we talked about cost. We threw out this thing about bicycles. I thought that was kind of interesting. So talk about some of the things that you would, people... You got a lot of people that, empty nesters, et cetera, have got garages and storage rooms full of stuff that was their kids, or whatever the case may be, Christmas decorations. What kind of stuff and how did they get it to you guys?
Yeah, so if it's local, we would be happy to come pick it up.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll take...
So anything around the KC Metro, you guys will go get it.
So we're all somewhat centrally located.
Right.
We all live in and around the plaza, so it's very, very convenient in terms of travel. Money is obviously going to be, a big part of this, but we'll take donations in any form,
Okay,
whether
so
it's...
money, if they go to the website, they can donate online?
Right on.
Yeah,
Okay, I went up there today, I saw it, so you can donate online.
Correct.
Okay, so what if they have, maybe they've got a stack of gift cards that somebody gave them, or they haven't used, and they can you accept those and do something with them?
Yeah, we can
absolutely.
definitely. And if anything that they have to donate, they can obviously just go to the contact page and fill out the form, send us a message, and we'll get it, and then respond hopefully within that day or the day after.
Okay, so if they don't know that, would you guys like this, they can go up there, say, hey, I've got 3 bicycles, or I've got 5 Barbies that are still in the box that my kids never opened, or whatever.
Absolutely.
et cetera. You guys are happy to pick that stuff up and then put it together.
Yeah,
Send us a message, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll see value in just about anything, even if it's not something that a kid directly asks for. It's something, we can turn into cash and make sure that the kid does get what it wants. So if it's something that, you don't necessarily think a kid would, we'll take anything. We'll take any help that people are willing to give us. We'd be very grateful.
Yeah. Again, they're looking for help. Their goal is 300. It's pretty aggressive. 300 kids this year. So let's talk about, give me an example of somebody last year. We chatted about this briefly in the break there before we went back on the air, of somebody last year that you guys reached out and made a difference for.
Yeah, I think we've actually got 3 pretty good cases.
Okay.
So on our first day of deliveries last year, we were scrambling, right? We all, it was just us doing the deliveries. So Christmas was pretty busy last year, but I'd been in touch with a lady on the Missouri side in Kansas City. And it's funny, like as they submit their applications, you can kind of get a feel, or at least you think you can, for the person that you're dealing with. And she was very polite. I can't remember exactly what they asked. I think they asked for a Madden 24 for one of her boys.
Right.
And so we get there, and I called her when we were on our way saying, hey, we're about to come by with your gifts. So, try and make sure that your kids aren't in the room. And we go up and knock on the door. And one of her boys actually comes and opens the door. And we're like, well, this isn't really what we were going for, but whatever. And we walk in, and that lady was in-home hospice. So she was lying in a bed in the living room. And yeah, she unfortunately didn't have very long to live. And so we went in there, and that, I think, kind of threw us all for a little bit of a loop. Like, that's not at all what we were expecting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so, we were just tried to be as nice as we could. We made the delivery, gave her a hug. I went over and shook the boys' hands and just said, Merry Christmas, wish you guys all the best. And the boys, from memory, one was 15, and the other was 9.
Okay.
And I shook the hand of the 9-year-old boy, and he wouldn't let go of my hand. And I was looking at him, and I was like, buddy, you better let go. Otherwise, I'm going to have some waterworks here, man. Like, oh, my goodness. But, yeah, I think that was where I think we all kind of agreed that, yeah, this is worth it. You've got kids that, one, financially are coming from absolutely nothing.
How is she going to do anything? She's in hospice in a bed and in her living room. I can only imagine the conditions that they were living under. Mm-hmm. So not just gifts for the kids. She couldn't even go get them.
Yeah.
Secondly, the food issue. So you guys were able to help with that. Mm-hmm. So she could order that food from the grocery store and have it delivered. But the point is, you physically took that stuff over there and got to see the impact that you had on that family. That if you hadn't done that, what were they going to do?
Yeah.
Who was going to come in and fill that gap if you guys weren't there?
Yeah.
So obviously you made a huge difference. Danny, what's your story?
Well, this lady reached out last year pretty late. It was well after we had closed the application process. And she said, hey, I know I'm late. I know you guys aren't taking any more applications, but I've really got a need. I'm about to get kicked out of my house. My husband lost his job. She's like, I have 3 kids. I'd like to give them something for Christmas. So we said, okay, well, let's see if we can get you in the list of the people that we're looking to take care of. So I did this delivery with John's little brother, and we got out of the car with the gifts. She was in tears, and it's emotional just to talk about it and to remember it, because she didn't think this was real. Like, she thought that this was a scam or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
that's unfortunate because there's a lot of that crap out there. But obviously, what you guys are doing is legit. Didn't you win an award for transparency and all the rest of it?
Oh yeah,
one of the
Candid.
ones.
Yeah. How about that?
On their website, people.
Right.
They're the real deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got there. She came out of the house and she was in tears with what you guys.
She was in tears. Delivered the gifts, and I've never seen more relief and surprise in someone's face. It was an awesome moment. It made me realize what we're doing is really, really important. And we both got back in the car and broke down into tears just because of the situation, in that we were able to help someone a little bit.
That's more than a little bit. Okay. I mean, you realize some people in this country, 70%, 80% of the people live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, husband loses his job. Single mom loses her job. What are they going to do? Okay, they're barely able to make ends meet. We've got runaway inflation in this country right now. We've got a lot of other issues to deal with. So in a situation like this, that saved their Christmas. There wouldn't have been a Christmas if you guys hadn't shown up. So they got the gifts, they got the food. Did you take them a wreath and all the rest of it?
We did. And, the goal of it, obviously we wish we could have helped a lot more. But the goal of it was just to give them another day's relief without having to worry. So
yeah, so
give
they
them
had
a
Christmas.
holiday. They had Christmas.
So there was an old commercial about reach out and touch someone, and I can't remember what the company was that ran that commercial, but it was. But okay, there you go. So that's really what you guys are doing. You're reaching out specifically. That's what I think is so unique about this. And there's a lot of great charities out there. There's a lot going on, but this is something that's very, very personal. They're finding people that have a need. A woman in a hospice situation. Okay, this other woman whose husband lost her job, and they were going to get kicked out of their house, which means clearly there wasn't going to be any Christmas. And these guys, young men, were able to go in there and do something that made a huge difference for them, and literally gave them Christmas that they wouldn't have had. So if you want to do something, you want to get involved with them, the website is kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. You can go up to the website. All of their information is up there. So, they're looking for almost anything. You heard him say, basically, you're taking everything, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Really? Yeah. It's pretty clear. Absolutely. Okay. So whether it's Christmas gifts, or maybe it's stuff, or you got bicycles sitting in the garage, or maybe you've got, a Game Boy or some other, toy like that your kids were there and you're not using it, or it hasn't been used, or it's still in the box, whatever the case may be, they'd be happy to get it. Also, if you just want to go make a donation, they do need money. I want to point it out. Okay. So they do need money. Go to the website, make a donation, and help these folks out. If you're looking, think about it. Okay, $90 takes care of one child. Okay, $50 for a mother with one child for food, $75 for a family with two kids, and $100 for a family with three kids. That's a grocery side, and $90 per child for food. So think about it. You want to do one child and a single mom. Okay, it's $90 plus $50, so you're looking at $140. You can do something that makes a big difference. Directly help those people. So go to the website once again, kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate here on the HIA Radio Network. Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HIA Radio Network. All right, so you're listening to this, we could do something, we could get involved. Go up to the website, okay? kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org. If maybe you've got a men's Bible study group at your church, or maybe it's a women's club or an altar society, or whatever the case may be, okay? This is a chance to do something that directly impacts a family. I mean, that's pretty significant. You heard the two stories. I'm going to ask Mac to tell one here in a minute, but it's an amazing story. This woman who had her husband lost his job, they're being kicked out of their house. They weren't going to have any Christmas. That was for sure. They changed that. And then, John goes out to a woman's house to deliver Christmas, and she's in hospice in a hospital bed, a 15-year-old and 9-year-old child sitting in the house. What kind of Christmas are they going to have? I mean, you could literally make a difference in somebody's life by helping these folks out. Look, it's $100, $50, whatever you can donate, they are happy to get. You can go to the website, kcchristmas.org, and do that. Also, if you've got bicycles, if you've got toys, if you've got Christmas ornaments, they're happy to pick that stuff up and give that out to the folks in need. They even said they'd take, if you've got, you got a beater car sitting in the driveway, or whatever the case may be you want to get rid of, they'll pick it up. They'll come get it. Then they'll sell it and take that money and turn around and do some good with it. So once again, the website, kcchristmas.org. All right, Mac, let's hear your story.
Yeah, so I had a really pretty young couple, like early 20s. Both of them had just also recently lost their jobs. They had 2 kids, and they were really struggling, hard times with that. And so when I was going to meet them, we just met at a gas station, so that way it was just the parents there and not the kids around.
The kids didn't see it.
Right, and so they were expecting when the wife came out of the car, she was expecting maybe like one gift from us, but at this point, it was $100 worth of gifts, and it was a good amount of gifts. I think we had about 6 or 7 plus gifts for these 2 kids. And so she just was thrown back and immediately started kind of like tearing up a little bit. And then the husband was also just kind of shocked, just didn't really know what to say, just kind of constantly shaking my hand saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then she sat there and talked to me for about 10, 15 minutes, just how like the troubles that they were going through and the hard time. It's sad.
You know, I don't think we realize, because we all have our jobs, we all have our homes, our apartments where we live. Our lives are pretty settled.
Right.
But there's so many people out there that they're this close to being homeless or not having anything, and that's exactly what you were experiencing.
Right.
20-some years old? Seriously?
Super
you wouldn't
young.
think, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah. And then after we gave them the gifts, I finally gave the wife the card from us for groceries, and we just said this was a gift from us. And then she didn't open it at the point, and so at that point we were saying our goodbyes, and they left in front of me, and then I could tell that she was opening up the gift card, and immediately instead of like turning left to get on the highway, they like went straight into the grocery store. And I got a phone call from them saying thank you so much, like we're getting our dinner now for everything and getting it ready.
It's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, really, seriously, there's a lot of work. I've done these kind of programs before. I mean, I've worked, with programs with other charities and actually been out there and, helped put these kinds of things together. This is a lot of work, but the reward is just that. What you saw,
right.
Danny, what you're seeing, Mac, the same thing when you saw John, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to anyone out there that may be, on the fence, we know that you want to be sure where your dollars are going. I just want to reinforce with you that we are not getting paid for this.
No.
We do not take everything that gets donated goes towards our mission. We're not skimming off the top anything. Everything you donate, you can be 100% positive.
Well, you've got the award you won right on the front page of your website.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys obviously, you're a 501(c)(3) that you're doing it the right way. You're volunteering your time and your effort to make this happen, and you're not looking for any kind of reimbursement for anything else. And that's one of the reasons why I think you've been so successful. Okay, so your heart and soul's in this thing. If you weren't, you wouldn't be sitting here doing this, okay? Right. And we need more of that. We don't need less of that, okay? And like I said, I'm sitting here at 74 years old, and I look at you 3 guys, and I think, you know what? This is damn good to see. Okay?
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you very much.
Because we need more of that in this country, and less of some of this other crap that's going on, okay? And more people who are willing to step up and make a difference. That's really what you're doing. Okay, that's the thing that I think is most impressive about this. You guys started this. It's funny. It was supposed to be a hobby. Right. Let me tell you something. In about another year, we'll see where you guys are at. Okay, this is going to keep growing because what you're doing is working. Okay, and it not only is it working, you're able to deliver something personally to these people that literally changes that holiday season for them from being total despair and having nothing. Okay, to turning that around and being able to put on Christmas for their kids, and it just makes a big difference. Okay, I really think it's amazing what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's nice to see. Now, who else is working? Just the 3 of you guys, or are there other people helping out? Your wives are obviously helping out, etc. But who else is it? Just you 3 guys? Or are there other people in your companies helping out, or other volunteers?
Yeah, so we've got 7 people that on our team.
Okay.
So there's me, there's Danny's wife,
right.
Monica. She's our secretary.
Okay.
Then we've got Mac, who's the vice president. So I'm president.
Right.
Dan's treasurer. Mac's vice president. Then we've got Mary Jameson. She helps with our fundraisers. She also works at VinQ, which is where Dan and Mac and I work. Then we've got Will Ben Sims, who works with Danny out at NetSmart. Okay. And he's got a lot of experience with business relations, so he's helping us coordinate.
So stop right there. If you are a business, because I completely forgot about this, you want to do something, okay? You want to get involved. Maybe every year when I had Benefits by Design, we literally would take up collection, we would get food and get gifts, and we would identify a family that needed help. We did it every year. We would do 2 or 3 families, and certain charities would identify them for us, and we would go out and we would do the same thing they're doing. If you're a company you want to do something in your company, this is a way to do it. These guys have already built it, okay? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just reach out to them. You want to spend some money? Maybe you want to get everybody together, make a donation. Maybe your folks in your company can bring the gifts together and do it. Whatever the case may be, the website is kcchristmas.org, kcchristmas.org, so it's an opportunity. Thanks again for coming up here and doing this.
Thank you.
Their
Cannot
goal
thank you
is
enough.
300 kids this year. That's a big goal. They need help. The website, kcchristmas.org. Go up and take a look at it. Go on a podcast platform if you want to tell somebody about this. Listen to it, and then they'll get involved. If it's your company, tell your boss, have them listen to the show. It's right there on the website. So once again, kcchristmas.org. And now I leave you with this thought from Dr. Martin Luther King. Americans must learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we are surely going to perish together as fools. Truer words were never spoken, especially in today's time. Thank you for listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting here on the HIA Radio Network, coast to coast across the USA. Goodbye, America.